Andy Mackay, ECB Pitches and Grounds Advisor, now joins me. Andy, thanks for taking time out today to join us. First time we've had a proper chat with you since you took the role, which is coming up for 2 years now.
Yeah, I started right at the start of March in 2020. So there's a lot happened since then.
There has. I mean, bang on COVID. So that was good timing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was awful. I think I had a week of normal in my role, and I was at a hotel in the Midlands when the ECB decided to lock down and ask their staff to work from home. So that was I had 1 week of trying to explore the new role, and then back home, pretty much same as everyone else around that time, and trying and crack on in the best way possible.
So obviously difficult to do much with looking at the green stuff from over a computer. Did you use the time to research what you should be doing and kind of get your head around it?
Yeah, I think in a funny way, it was an opportunity to reflect and to have some of that thinking time up front that otherwise during the course of a normal full-on busy season I might not have had, at least for a couple of months before we started trying to hold behind closed doors cricket and not international cricket that we did in fact manage to have in the end.
With the bubbles, and I guess you got wrapped up and caught up in having to stay safe because of that, did you?
Yeah, it was. Had we not played cricket that summer, international cricket that summer, there would have been a huge financial impact for the game. Huge. Almost on an existential level, I think. But it was certainly the main focus was how do we get this Test cricket and the one-day stuff across the line. And the ECB were, I think, the first sport in the world to resume play once the pandemic had started. So you can imagine there was a huge amount of COVID security needed. We came up with COVID bubbles and people operating separately from others to protect people and to protect players, but actually give everyone a bit of sport to watch on telly, you know.
We needed it, that was for sure. There was not a lot else going on, was there, for those few months? But we move on. We move on. We've got you here because we want to talk about the role. 2 years in now, and obviously difficult to get up and motoring for the first 12 months, 18 months of that. What does your role encompass? Let's start with that.
My role is to worry about the green stuff on behalf of the ECB, and to worry about our interests as well as think about the interests of the grounds managers out there and try and represent that and be a conduit between the two to an extent. There's lots of facets to my role. Probably the most exciting part of what I do is do international pitch inspections. So I'll go and inspect those international pitches, produce a report for England management, and hopefully give them a bit of info before the toss. I report into professional cricket. So one of my other roles is to inspect pitches that might not have performed as well as we would have liked and be part of that process at looking why that might be the case. But also I'm there to provide some pastoral support for the first class counties and the professional grass management really within that, and also to feed in and support the work for grassroots cricket. And I've spent such a long time being a grounds manager myself. I've got that kind of perspective that I can offer. Now, I do have a colleague at the ECB called Dr. Ian James, who started around the same time that I started. Ian is head of facility services at the ECB and works in a facilities team. So Ian takes the lead on the grassroots, the recreational cricket side of grounds management, and I support him with that in the same way that he is there to support me as much as I need in the pro game, I guess. It's not quite as simple as splitting it between pro and amateur at all. We've got two people worried about the same sorts of things, but just naturally because of my regulatory role within the professional game, I tend to spend a lot of my time around that.
So you take the lead there, but you're very much hands-on involved in helping on the grassroots, yeah? Okay. The professional game, there's quite a few big personalities in terms of the groundsmen out there. Is it something that can be difficult sometimes to go in and have a chat with, somebody that's been at a ground for a long time and say something they may not like to hear, or are they fairly receptive to what you have to say?
Look, most people are pretty receptive. Really, we want a partnership between the ECB and the first class counties. We tend to have common goals and common aims. So from that point of view, it should be fairly simple. Of course, there may be differences of opinions sometimes, and it may be that the grounds manager at that venue, who is after all employed by his county, has slightly different aims to what we might like. But it's about partnerships. I haven't had a single row with anyone, and long may that be the case. Sometimes we need to think about things. Sometimes I need to think about things differently as well. So no, it's about supporting the counties to try and get to where we want to be.
I guess I'm aware. I'm not sure if the wider audience are aware, but after every game on a first-class cricket match, the pitch is graded and rated by, I think, is it both captains and both teams as well as a panel?
The pitch is marked by a match referee. So the match referees are at every game, and they will provide the final mark for the pitch. They will take into consideration feedback from umpires and the captains of both sides, and also discussion with the grounds manager.
Okay, I mean, I guess depending on who you are and what your brief is and how it was graded, you'll have different opinions on that. Is that something that you're looking to, constantly improve, or is it something that's under review?
The match managers are a skilled group of people. They have a lot of knowledge about cricket and of the game, and that's why they're in that role in the first place. But you'll appreciate that no matter how much we try and standardise their feedback and the way they mark pitches, there is always going to be that bit of room for opinion, and it's not always objective. There has to, there is by definition the way it is that little bit of subjective in there. But we're constantly trying to standardise the way that we look at pitches and the way we think about pitches and the way we go about that process. So, and at the same time, of course, it's a really emotional and emotive subject for the grounds managers. Somebody's marking their work effectively and telling them that it's either, above average or that it's a very good pitch, and sometimes the differences between one mark and another are very small, and that match manager has to make a call based on what they know about what they've seen and what they know about the game that's just happened. So, of course, there are often differences of opinions between the head grounds managers and the match referees, but I think we get it largely right. Actually, I think it's a pretty robust process, and yeah, I having been on both sides of the fence now, been there as a grounds manager on the receiving ends of match referees' marks, and now having come to the regulatory side, I'm pretty confident that the process is not too far away from where it might be.
We're in an age, and I guess you're starting in a role coincided with new formats of the game becoming more established and one being launched in terms of the 100. So there's more and more cricket, different formats. I guess that might require different needs from a pitch in terms of how it performs over the whatever length the match is. Yeah. Has that had an impact on how you have to do your job? And has it had an impact on how, the people out there that are managing the grounds are actually doing their job in terms of the resources they're getting or the pressures they're under?
I guess, first and foremost, it's just got that bit busier. So for everyone involved, there is more cricket than there was there's more cricket in 2021 than there was in 2019. Let's set 2020 aside because of the pandemic. So the pressure on grounds, on facilities, the pressure on people has increased significantly. And actually what we've seen for the 100 is that the scrutiny and the pressure put on the head groundsman in the media and on social media has become that bit more intense. It's very tough out there for the head grounds managers. In terms of how it's affected me, in my day-to-day workings, again, just that little bit busier than I might have been, I guess. But I think the main way it affects me is those relationships with the head grounds managers and the approach I need to try and take to support them and work out how we're all going to get through this in the right way.
And how does that support manifest itself? What kind of things can you do for them to help them through this?
I guess there's a lot of what I think of as pastoral support. So it's just phoning people up, seeing how they are. I always have one eye on pitch marks. I speak regularly with the match managers and the match referees at the venues. So it's that sense that if anybody's having a tough time, just making sure that I reach out to them. I speak to Gary Barwell, who's the chair of the head grounds managers group, as regularly as I can. We could probably talk more, but Gary's a very good conduit for those sort of sentiments from the group, and yeah, just making sure that that I'm trying to provide that pastoral support really in and amongst all the the more formal elements of my role.
I'd like to move on to what your vision is and where you're going with this particular role. Obviously, Chris Wood had that role for many years. You've come in, fresh set of eyes and a fresh set of circumstances, because as we've just been talking about, the game's changed. Yeah, there's more of it, different formats, different pressures. Do you have an agenda or a vision of where you want to take things while you're in this role?
Yes, I think, look, when I came into the role, I obviously had my own preconceptions, perhaps my own prejudices about the way things were. And I had an idea of where I think things should go to. 2020 was a bit of a write-off because that was all about biosecure bubbles and delivering the international programme. And we had very little domestic cricket in 2020. So 2021 was the first near normal season and the first opportunity for me to go and observe and look around and challenge those preconceptions that I might have had. And also see what the new normal looked like with the 100 competition and the things in and around that. So I did have a clear idea. My idea has adapted as I've gone along.
Right.
And what we need now is a response from the game as to how we're going to move forward and deliver what the game needs for the future, I guess. So I talked about pressure on people and pressure on surfaces. It's all about that, really. What are we going to do to ease that pressure and to make things better?
And have you shared that vision with the county guys?
Yes, only fairly briefly. As one group, it's something I've been discussing with individuals non-stop, really.
Right.
And we had some debrief sessions at the end of 2021 with the head grounds managers to understand from their perspective where the pressures were and where the problems were. And we had a similar set of debriefs just aimed specifically at the 100, just because of the pressure on that tournament. So what I've been doing since is to try and work that into a strategy to deal with this and to move forwards in the right way.
I guess it's too early for us to get any detail on that, but the discussions you've been having with the other guys around the counties, etc., is there a general consensus of a buy-in of what you're trying to achieve?
I think broadly there is. Yeah, and it wouldn't be right for me to provide all the answers either. This is a partnership between the ECB and the first class counties. So I guess trying to find the right ways to facilitate that process with some of the things. It's not a cop-out to say that. It really is. the counties, and not just the head grounds managers, actually other people at the counties are vital to getting this right in terms of what we do for pitches and what we do for the people that are managing the pitches.
And if we look further ahead, at some point we're going to hit saturation point of the amount of pressure that's put on playing surfaces and the teams that look after them. So it may be that we're at that peak now of the number of games. What would you like to have achieved, say, in 5 years' time?
The challenge is, so the fixtures are at the moment as they are. So they're almost set in stone. That's not to say that we won't change the weight of fixtures in the future, but at the moment, the problem is not how to reduce that pressure, but how to respond to that pressure. So what I want to have achieved in 5 years' time is to have made sure that we're maximising capacity at those venues, that the limiting factors at the venues are not simply weight of fixtures, that the limiting factors... Can I start that bit again?
Of course you can, yeah. What would you like to have achieved in 5 years' time, essentially, yeah?
Yeah. So at the moment, the problem appears to be such a huge amount of cricket and so limited resources. What I want to achieve in the next 5 years is to be sure that we've squeezed every opportunity to maximise capacity and output at those venues, so that we know we've a limited number of pitches and we know that there's a certain amount of fixtures that need to fit on them. So I want to make sure that we've explored that in the right way, and that we're not just... the narrative isn't just that there's too many fixtures and we need to have less. It's to make sure that we can have as many fixtures, etc., as possible. Once we've made sure of that, then we can be sure that we need to reduce fixtures or not. But at the moment, I think there's opportunities to do things differently and to improve. And we've seen that in other sectors of the turf industry. We've seen the Premiership pitches and how they've evolved over the last 20, 30 years, and the carrying capacity on pitches and training grounds, etc., has massively improved. And the way we do that is by accessing modern technology, things like lights, by making sure that our working systems are robust and appropriate for the modern challenge, and that we're not just doing things in a way that is really a legacy item. So we've got my challenge is to examine that and to make sure that we're responding in the right way.
I guess it's also making sure we've got the right number of the right type of people in the jobs in the industry. Yeah.
Part of it, yeah, that's part of it. But it's to ask those hard questions, not just look at the easy answers. The easy answers are, let's have less fixtures and more people. Well, yeah. What else can we do? That might be part of it, but what else can we do?
Andy, great to catch up with you as always. All the best for the next couple of years and further on. And let's hope we get out of this COVID situation and you can do the job you want to do and start fulfilling some of those objectives.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, Andy.